Okay, so you're going to understand the grammar eventually. So I think that the best thing that you can do is instead is just to learn new words, especially if you are actually bored of like studying grammar, right? And the thing that you want to do is just to learn new words. So a bit about me before starting the video. I make this video just to improve my English. Actually, that's the main point of this channel. I have been studying Japanese for 10 months, and 4 months ago I started doing immersion. And the first anime doing immersion was Horimiya. I had a comprehension of probably at 20%. So 4 months after, I have a comprehension of like 90% watching World Trigger, which is actually very impressive. Actually, yeah, I mean, it's very impressive, honestly. So the first thing that you need to do is just to know the context. So if you know the context, everything is just going to be easier from there. So you don't want to know more words. You don't want to know more kanjis. You don't want to know any grammar. So if you can get the context in somehow, easily from there you're going to understand like almost everything, and from the context in itself you're going to learn the new words. So that's how we learn. So if we have a context very clear in our mind, we're going to learn new words. So how you can get the context? Well, you can rewatch some anime that you have already watched, right? I mean, I'm talking about anime because that's the thing I do, but you can watch YouTube videos, you can watch podcasts, you can rewatch podcasts again. So that's actually a very useful tip. So if you watch some podcast, make sure to actually rewatch it, because you are going to learn a lot of words that you probably haven't noticed in your first watch, in your first listen uh, of that episode of that podcast that you're watching, right? So if you can rewatch something, that's actually very good. So for me, when I was starting, I was actually uh, watching a lot of animes, maybe animes like Souls of No Frieren, animes like Haikyuu, Hunter x Hunter, and all those animes I actually rewatched them, like just listening to them, right? On the I just listened to them whilst I did something else, and that's how I got much more words that I actually haven't noticed when doing my immersion, right? So if you can get the context somehow, maybe you want to watch a synthesis of the anime, a summary of the anime, an explanation of the anime, something that you didn't understand about the history. So all of those things are actually good if you want to understand the context, right? So that's kind of it. The second point is just to, if you need to Google grammar, it's fine. Like, it's not the end of the world, right? So if there is a piece of grammar that always pops up, just study it, right? Or just Google it. So the way I will recommend to study is just to go through the grammar guide that you want to study. I will put one on the description, right? So you go to the grammar guide that you want to study, and then read the piece that you actually need, and then just go back to your immersion. That's the way I would recommend to study if you actually don't have that much concentration, right? Because it's actually very boring to study grammar. So if there is a piece that always pops up, just study it and go back to your immersion right after again, so that you actually learn it very quickly, right? So the third point is just to don't rely on immersion being fun at first. So even though it's actually more fun than to study grammar, do an amount that you know you're capable of doing, and then from there you probably want to increase that amount, right? Because you're not like, if you're starting to immerse, you're not going to do probably even 2 hours at first. You're probably you're probably going to do just 1 hour, maybe 1 hour and 30 minutes at most, right? So just do that amount. Don't think that you're going to do more, and then the next day just increase like 20 minutes or maybe 30 minutes. Like, you don't have to do like 5 hours since the start of your immersion journey. Like, as long as you get to the point in which you can do 5 hours to 6 hours a day of immersion, which you are going to get, because from here immersion just gets more fun the more you understand new words, new grammar, and like there's just a point in which you have a comprehension of like 80-90%, and like it's actually very easy to understand most things and like to learn new words from there, right? So if you can like not rely on immersion being fun is actually easier, right? It will be actually easier to increase the amount that you do daily. So that's all of it for this video, and I hope that it was helpful to you. Thank you.